Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I want to talk to you guys about what perks should be in Call of Duty Black Ops 5 Zombies. Now, we know it may be titled Black Ops, just Black Ops. It could be titled Black Ops 5. It could be titled Black Operations. We don't know. I'm just going to be going by the title Black Ops 5 for now. It's just much easier to say that. So I'm going to go through every single perk from World at War all the way up to Black Ops 4, every single perk we've seen in Treyarch Zombies, explaining why either it should or shouldn't be in this next game, or if it should be remixed in some way. So let's start off with Juggernog, the World at War perks. And Juggernog, this is an interesting one because this was probably the biggest issue with Black Ops 4 for most people, was the fact that they removed Juggernog. For me, the main issue came from the fact that you don't have that iconic machine on the map. Most of BO4's perk system all went down to losing that perk personality that we had in previous games, not so much the gameplay aspect, because honestly the gameplay still worked pretty damn well, at least in my eyes, but losing that personality of the perk jingles and the perk design is what hurt the game most, in my opinion. But Juggernog was removed mainly because of the fact that it was a crutch perk, and I do agree with the fact that it is a crutch perk. You are never not going to run Juggernog. At least every other perk in the game, there might be a time where you won't use it, but Juggernog, never. You are going to use it every game unless you're doing some sort of a challenge. That's the only reason you may not run Juggernog. I personally do see this as a problem, and I do think it should be corrected in the next game, but not by removing Juggernog as a perk completely. My solution is simply put it in the game just how it was, so you get that sense of progression, so you're not having the same health on round 1 as you are in round 20. So you have to buy the perk, but it's its own separate slot, so it won't take up any of your main perk slots, so those can be used for whatever other perks are on the map. Jug is its own separate thing, kind of similar to how in World War II it was its own separate thing, but not that same exact way. I don't want to have to buy Juggernog 40 times over in the same match. I wasn't a big fan of that World War II system. Just have the perk itself, you lose it when you go down, but have it be its own separate entity. That's the best way to implement Juggernog in this game. Next up is Quick Revive. I think it should be the same as how it was in Black Ops 4. Quick Revive is also kind of a crutch for solo players because obviously you're getting extra lives. Why the hell wouldn't you get Quick Revive? I do see some people who think they're really damn good at the game, they're really cocky, so they just never run it. They're like, oh, I'm not going to go down. Or if you're doing certain speedruns, you might be like, yeah, what's the point of running it if you're just going to, if you go down, you might as well restart anyways. So have the way how BO4 did it, where you have automatic revives on solo no matter what. You get 2 free lives basically, and then you can get more through maybe other means, maybe like, I don't know, some different Easter egg challenges on the maps like what they did in Black Ops 4. And then Quick Revive as a machine, have it so you revive players quicker, and also of course what they did in Black Ops 4 where you get faster health regeneration, which isn't a necessity really, but it's definitely going to be a useful thing. Don't make it very, very overpowered like it regens it really quickly. Just make it kind of how it was in BO4, where you don't need to run it, but you definitely can run it if you would like, especially if you're with teammates who kind of suck and go down a lot. Next up, Speed Cola. I do think it should be on the map, but I think it should be nerfed in some way, because Speed Cola is not really it's not a crutch, right? But it's definitely a perk that you would get over any other perk in the game, simply because reloading fast could save your ass often, especially if you have certain wonder weapons and LMGs. So I think the best way to fix this problem is just all you have to do is make it so the difference between having Speed Cola and not having Speed Cola is not that major, but that doesn't mean make the reload really, really slow. Just make most guns in the game reload already pretty decently fast. Or of course have weapon kits in the game that give you the ability to put fast mags on every single gun, so Speed Cola isn't a necessity. But if you don't want to run fast mags on the specific gun, you can run it, and also for like wonder weapons, of course, Speed Cola would be useful for that. And I think it could work in the game perfectly. It's somewhat implemented in Black Ops 4, not as an actual perk, but instead, if you just get all the perks in the map or in the game that you are playing at that point, then you get Speed Cola, and it's a fine system for me, but I would like to have the machine. I think it is a very iconic machine, so yeah, that's how it is. Next up, Double Tap. This is a controversial one. I'm saying it should be removed completely, gone, just not existent. I don't even want the machine there. Now the other 3 perks, they're very iconic. The machines are very iconic. Double Tap though, Yeah, the jingle's iconic, yeah, but is the machine that iconic? Like, I'm okay with it being removed, and the reason why is because the ability you get from double tap is simply just increasing your bullet damage. Isn't that what Pack-a-Punch does? Isn't that basically what Pack-a-Punch does? So why not just implement that into the Pack-a-Punch system, which they did for Black Ops 4, not in a good way in my opinion, because having to do it 4 extra times is a bit ridiculous. Just simply have it so you have to double Pack-a-Punch. You just have to do it twice, right? You Pack-a-Punch once, and then you go again, and now you have the double tap ability on that gun. Simple as that. It's easy. Instead of forcing you to run a perk, because double tap was never really a crutch until Black Ops 3 came along, even though Black Ops 2, yes, it was the new version, which was insanely good, but I feel like people didn't start using it as a crutch until Black Ops 3, and you would never not run it. You would be stupid not to run it, because you lose a lot of bullet damage that could be used to kill these zombies much damn quicker than before. So yeah, I don't want double tap in the game, I really don't. I would like to be implemented in the Pack-a-Punch. Next up, Stamin-Up. Stamin-Up was never really a crutch for me until Black Ops 4, because they removed all like the good ones, so it was like, hold up, now Stamin-Up's like one of the best perks in the game. But on maps like Origins and just a few of the bigger maps, Transit, it is definitely a crutch. So I don't think it's much of an issue to have this perk. I think they should add it, but make it so, like I said, just same for Speed Cola, the difference between having it and not having it is not that severe. So that means make the automatic sprint that you have in the game, like the default sprint, make it so it's not that slow. So like the difference between having and not having it is not that massive, right? PhD slider or flopper, I'm gonna go with slider. I'd rather have the sliding abilities in this game, so I'm gonna go with PhD slider. Yeah, of course add it. Why wouldn't I want PhD? We've been asking for it forever, and we finally got it back in its full form in BO4, but it was obviously not the same as the original PhD flopper. And of course you can bring back the OG PhD flopper machine as well, so it looks even cooler, but of course it's now slider, and make it the same as it was in Black Ops 4 pretty much, and that's exactly how I would like it to be. Deadshot Daiquiri, yes, of course. I mean, it's probably one of the worst perks in the game, but I still want to see it because it's sometimes a fun perk to use. But if they do make it the Black Ops 4 version, it might actually be worth it this time. I do think that Black Ops 4 perfected Deadshot and made it an actual good perk, because previously it was just like no one really cared for it. I think if they implement it the same way it was in BO4, it could work well. I am taking into account the modifiers. Of course, they can work in modifiers somehow. Maybe there's some upgrade quests you have to complete in order to get it. I don't know. But I do think that they should implement this perk into the game. Of course, Mule Kick is another one that's like a hell yeah. I mean, why wouldn't they have Mule Kick? But of course, do the BO4 version so you can get your gun back if you have the upgraded version of it or whatever it may be. Like I said, I don't know how they'd implement that. But Mule Kick is a perk that I feel like is just so needed on maps where there's a lot of cool guns, and I feel like especially when we first get this game, we're going to be wanting to try as many of the guns as possible, try and Pack-a-Punch them. So Mule Kick is going to be a fun perk to run, but it's definitely one of the worst perks in the game, especially if you're playing on a map that has really good guns. But when you're in a game like Black Ops 1, that's back when it used to be more useful, because there's a lot of shittier guns and you wanted to have more guns, which means more ammo, which means less, getting into such shitty situations where you don't have any ammunition. Next up, let's get into the Black Ops 2 perks. We got Tombstone. No. I feel like Tombstone is a type of perk that should be just worked into a Gobblegum. I think a lot of these perks could be worked into a Gobblegum. I do think Tombstone works better as a Gobblegum or Elixir or whatever system they do. So yeah, I don't want to see Tombstone. I don't want to. I mean, the jingle's pretty iconic at this point, but I don't really want to see it back. Who's Who is another one that I really don't want to see. I don't even think it would work good as a Gobblegum. I just did not like this perk. I did not like how it functioned. It did not like anything about it. Electric Cherry, hell yes. This is one of my favorite perks in COD history. It's gotta be, man. It's weird too, because it's not even that great. Like, it's just really fun to use, and it does get you out of those sticky situations. It's kind of like the opposite of Stamin-Up, because Stamin-Up is really useful and almost a crutch on the big maps. Electric Cherry is very useful, almost a crutch on the tighter, smaller maps, like, Voyage of Despair, or Verrucht, which obviously Electric Cherry was only on Verrucht in the... Was it in the Chronicles version? I don't even know if it was, because I know they had the Wonder Fizz, but I don't know if Electric Cherry... besides the point. It's useful on those smaller scale, like tighter maps. Mob of the Dead's another one, and I always loved using it, and I hope they bring it back, and it doesn't really matter what version. I just want a version that's powerful as hell and helps you out a lot and is worth getting every game, and then I'd be very, very happy with it. Vulture Aid is an interesting one because we've only seen this perk in one map, and that's Buried, and they've only introduced it again in different versions, like they've kind of given certain parts, because Vulture Aid did a lot of things, right? It did a lot of abilities. They've taken some of those abilities and worked them into other gobblegums, other perks throughout Black Ops 3 and 4. I would like to see it back in its old form, but the only difference is make it so the ammo that you pick up you can't get for wonder weapons. Then it's balanced, because I think that's why they didn't introduce it again, because imagine you were using this with a map that had the Apothecary Servant, you can get ammo back for it, it would be overpowered, you would never run out of ammo. But if they worked it so it only gives you ammo for like your guns, then it works great, and it's a really freaking good perk. I mean, you go into the gas and it protects you from the zombies, you can see perks in the box through the walls. I love this perk. It's on like most custom maps nowadays, and it's really, really fun to use. And yes, I would like to see it back because the perk machine is one of the coolest looking perk machines ever. So yeah. Next up, the only Black Ops 3 perk, which is Widow's Wine. I decided to kind of merge this with Winter's Wail because they're basically the same thing. They just have different designs to them. One of them replaces your grenades and has the kind of web effect, and one of them has the snowy, icy, freezes the zombies effect, and you just get them over time. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. As much as Widow's Wine is really iconic at this point, I'd rather have Winter's Wail. I would definitely rather have Winter's Wail, because of the fact that it doesn't replace your grenades, because when you get Widow's Wine, you then can't make crawlers, and that's kind of annoying, but Winter's Wail doesn't replace your grenades. Now, unless they can work, you know, Widow's Wine into a way that makes it so it's not as, like, so it doesn't remove your grenades, but if they can't, and they don't want to, then just give us Winter's Wail, and I think it would just fit better with this grounded feel that Black Ops 5 is going to probably give. I don't think they're going to want to go for too much mythological stuff. I think freezing the zombies would make more sense than webbing them up with magical web that shoots out of you. So yeah, Winter's Wail is one I'd rather have in this situation. Next up, we're going to get into all of the new Black Ops 4 perks. Of course, there's a decent amount of them, but there's also a lot that are just repeats of other perks we've seen, just with different names, so I'm not going to be including those, of course, just the ones that are actually new. First of all, Time Slip is a solid yes. This is the one perk from, or one of the only perks from Black Ops 4 that I think should return. You're going to see me say no for a lot of them. Time Slip did a couple of things, and I do think they could work it into this game somehow, because of course there's going to be timed things, I'm sure. Trap cooldowns, or cooldowns on your specialist weapons. I'm sure they're going to have some sort of a specialist weapon system, whether it be like Black Ops 3 or whatever, and how it made the pack-a-punch go a little faster, as well as the box spins. All of these things are just really good for speedrunners, but they're not necessary for any other players, therefore not making it a crutch perk. I think it'd be really fun perk, especially some really cool, like maybe an hourglass type like perk machine would look really cool for this perk. I want to see it back. Death Perception is the next one, and that's a solid no. I mean, Death Perception was easily the most useless perk in Black Ops 4. A lot of the effects that it had, you just didn't really need. I think the modifier was a little interesting, how it was easier to kill boss zombies. It was like increased damage against boss, but that's really it. Everything else just felt like, well, no, I don't need to see zombies through walls. Like, yes, on really close quarters maps, it may come in handy, but I don't want to see this perk back. There's really no reason to. Maybe work these abilities into gobblegums or something. I think that would work better. Next up is Victorious Tortoise. I'm going to say no. I do think this perk was really, really good in Black Ops 4. It really allowed you to do some crazy things with the shield, but I don't really want, I don't want the gameplay in these maps to be centered around the shield, and I feel like it has been in Black Ops 4, even a little bit in Black Ops 3, but definitely in Black Ops 4. A lot of the maps like require you to use the shield for a bunch of different Easter egg steps, requires you to do the shield to just get the damn pack-a-punch on some of the maps. and now there's a whole perk revolved around the shield. I like having this shield in every map. I think it's a good system, but I don't think it should be something that's worked into the gameplay as much as like using a perk that makes you almost invincible. I mean, you're pretty much invincible, especially if you use a modifier, because then if it runs out, it just blows up the zombies around you, so you can just go grab another one. It makes runs on like classified round 150 pretty damn easy. And yeah, I think it's a cool perk idea for Black Ops 4, but I think if we're going to kind of change up the gameplay and we don't want to stick to that like you need the shield every single game type mentality, then yeah, no, Victorious Tortoise can't really come back. I think they could do a pretty cool perk machine for it, but I don't want to see it. Stone Cold Stronghold. I actually really like the concept of this perk. It's actually really fun to use because it's like really good for campers, to be honest. But I don't want to see it back. I never really run it unless I'm like doing an I'm doing a secret sauce challenge, and I end up getting it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll deal with it. And sometimes it's kind of fun to use, but it's just not really a perk I think should be in the game at all, to be honest. Bandolier Bandit. Yes. This is a perk that would work really well in Black Ops 5. Actually, I do think that maybe they should make it so the extra ammo ability from Vulture Aid comes over to this perk instead. I think that would work really well because this would be like the ammo perk, you just get more ammo pretty much, and I think that would just work really damn well. I don't know. I think this is a perk that we've wanted for a long time, something that lets you get more ammo pretty much, but it's not like free ammunition. You still could run out of ammo at one point, but it does help you kind of, stay with more ammo for a little bit longer, which I think works pretty well. Next up, Dying Wish, probably the most crutch perk in Black Ops 4, which literally gives you an extra life. No, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it because it is crutch. It literally is. It's, I don't even think it's a cool concept, to be honest. It's just a very, very generic thing. It's like, okay, yeah, it's basically quick revive, but you don't lose your perks. So it's something I don't want to see because I know it'll be something you'll have to run every game. You'll at least want to run every damn game. And then we get to the DLC perks. And originally I said no to all of these because they're very gimmicky. But then I realized, if this game has the perks on the map, right, the main perks that we all love and we all use every game, or we usually switch between these different perks, and then they have like a Wonder Fizz that just throws in more perks, kind of like how maps have wall guns and then the box weapons, right? And the box includes the wall guns sometimes, but also includes a bunch of other guns. So if they just want to have a lot of perks on these maps, pretty much, you're gonna need some filler perks, some ones that are fun to use but aren't necessarily useful, kind of like certain box weapons. They're fun to use, but like you're not going to want to use them every game. You might use them just to have fun with them, but you're not going to want to run them every game. These 4 DLC perks all fit that category really well. They're fun to use, and if you're just bored and you're not doing Easter egg running, not doing high rounds, you're just playing with your buddies and you just want to try out some different perks, some of these DLC perks are really, really good for that, and honestly they would work well in the game. Ethereal Razor, of course, giving you the extra melee damage after you get a few charge up melee kills, stuff like that. It's a fun perk to use, especially on earlier rounds. Zombshell is an ability that I think works a little bit better as a pack-a-punch ability, to be completely honest, but it could still work as a perk, and I wouldn't mind seeing it. Bloodwolf Bite, you get a goddamn dog to fight it beside you. That's pretty awesome. Blaze Phase is a weird perk that lets you like crouch and then you like blast through them, which again, it's not really practical, but it's gimmicky and kind of fun to use. So I would like these perks. I don't think they would ruin any balance. I don't think they're like Dying Wish or Victorious Tortoise where they throw off the pacing of the game, but they're fun, gimmicky perks that would work well if they're just tossed into the Wonder Fizz machine. I think that works well. So that leaves us with a total of 16 perks. 15 if you don't include Juggernog, which Juggernog, like I said, should be its separate entity. So we got Juggernog, Speed Cola, Quick Revive, Stamin-Up, PhD Slider, Deadshot Daiquiri, Mule Kick, Lesser Cherry, Vulture Aid, Winter's Wail, Time Slip, Bandolier Bandit, the 4 DLC perks, which are Ethereal Razor, Zombshell, Bloodwolf Bite, and Blaze Phase. So what I think would work perfectly is if the perk limit was 6, okay? Of course, I don't think these should be the only perks. I think maybe they should add a couple of their own ideas in, maybe like 1 or 2 extra ones, 1 or 2 new ones at launch, and then some DLC ones throughout the season. What they should do is have, so every single one of these perks is available on every single map through a Wonder Fizz machine. Have the Wonder Fizz on every map, right? You have all these perks in there. There's like, what, 16 here, plus DLC ones, 18. Then have about 8 or so perks that are on the map itself. Now, don't have it be the same 8 perks for every single map. Make it switched up a little bit. The only perks you should always keep there are, of course, Juggernog should always be there, Quick Revive, Speed Cola, as well as Stamin-Up. I think those 4 should be there every single game, but then switch around the other 4. Make it so one map you got Electric Cherry, Deadshot, Mule Kick, and Winter's Wail, maybe on like a more tighter map, but then on one of a little, maybe bigger map, you know, have, I don't know, Bandolier Bandit, Time Slip, Deadshot, and a PhD Slider. Make it so it's different for every map, just like how Infinite Warfare changed up the wall guns every map to fit the theme of the specific map, but always kept all the guns in the box, just so you can get some variety there. You know, there's maybe certain guns that you just want to get out of the box, but you never can. Now you can get it off the wall on this specific map a lot easier. So do that with the perks. Make it so some maps have perks that are automatically there, but sometimes they're just being the Wonder Fizz. Or they can do what Black Ops 2 did and have just the perks, no Wonder Fizz, and make it so, you know, they're different for every map. Or they can just go full send, Black Ops 4, have every single perk on every map, but you pick them before the game. Or they can even go crazier and have each and every one of these perks with their own specific perk machine on every single map. I think that would be a little too much. I don't think they would do that, but I'd be fine with that as well. Honestly, as long as they don't do what BO4 did, where you have to pick them before the game and they go on these generic machines, I'd be happy, right? That's all I'm asking for. These are the perks I want to see in this game. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will see you guys on my next one. And give me some perk ideas too. If you have some just random ass ideas, I'd like to hear those as well. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.